And good evening and welcome to Blueprint Live, where we break down how power actually works in America. And tonight's show is about power. Who has it? How they use it? What happens when the rules start to change? And those changes are not in your favor.
Tonight, we begin in Florida, where new congressional maps could reshape representation for years to come. These maps aren't just political, they're illegal, raising a fundamental question. Are voters choosing their leaders, or are leaders choosing their voters?
And this doesn't stop at the state level. At the national level, the Supreme Court weighed in on a decision that could weaken key voting right protections indefinitely. So, what happens when those guardrails start to disappear?
And all of this is happening while Americans are feeling it where it matters most. In their bank accounts, the rising gas prices, low wages, high inflation, tariffs, ridiculous cost of living increases are putting tremendous pressures on Florida's working families. This is the Blueprint Live, and tonight we're giving you the blueprint they're working overtime to keep hitting. It's a full show, and it's an important conversation, and it starts right now.
And welcome everyone. Before we get started tonight, make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe, and follow us across all platforms, whether it's YouTube, Subtract, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is that you use. We want to make sure that you keep that thread and get it going. Whenever you get that podcast started, remember us. Also including Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Your support helps us grow and keep these conversations going. And tonight, let's start off in Florida, where a major battle over political power has unfolded in real time. With national implications, Republicans have followed Trump orders and passed new congressional maps in an attempt to take more congressional power away from the Democrats. This could shift multiple seats into the hands of the Republicans and reshape representation for years to come. So let's get into it. And I believe that Gay is that would be you coming up, and I think Gay is going to be talking to us about first what we're going to do to draw the line between the politics and the unusuals. And
Yeah,
yeah,
let me talk about that. So, Florida has decided to redraw their maps, and let me tell you where it started from. So, Texas started um, on an order from Donald Trump, and then California went to their voters and said, we're going to change our maps, but we're going to give it to the voters to decide. The voters cast their votes and decided to expand their maps for Democrats. So the back and forth, back and forth. And now the back and forth has come to Florida. Ron DeSantis has decided to redraw our maps and get rid of the 8 seats that we had. And let me tell you that it is illegal in Florida, unlike most states. In 2010, the Florida voters passed an amendment called the Fair Districts Amendment that said our maps cannot be gerrymandered for political gain, for a political party. It's very clear. So it's illegal, and we are currently in the middle of a special session to change those maps.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree to your point. Like, when we talk about this, I think what everybody needs to make sure that they understand is that this has become, as you mentioned, it's illegal. More importantly, it's expensive and it is absolutely unnecessary to be doing this at this point in time. When we look at these things, when we talk about it, when you say, well, why is it expensive? They had, as you mentioned, the man that runs the state of Florida in Tallahassee had to call a special legislative session that which means that they completed their legislative term, but then they had to come back just so that they could vote on these illegally gerrymandered drawn maps and unnecessary maps. And that's
Mhm.
not what the Floridians need. And I think what's important to also note with respect to the Fair Districting Act that we voted on in 2026 is that they included in that amendment is that there was a responsibility that the districts must protect minority voting rights and be compact unless necessary to comply with federal law. So when we talk about it, there are two factions to this. They couldn't draw based on partisan or gerrymandered rig maps to benefit one party or another, or one political candidate or another. And certainly they needed to protect the interests of minority voters in the state of Florida. And all of these in the maps that they have drawn illegally and unnecessary are going to do just the opposite. When we talk about it, this information, the maps, they weren't data that we got from the census, because we know the census only takes place every 10 years. So they redrew maps using the same data that was publicly available to them after the 2020 census data. Thinks it begs the question, why redraw this? As you said, because Donald Trump said we needed more seat. He needed more seats, so he wanted to cheat instead of letting the voice of the people have their say in November.
And the
Yep.
only thing that
Absolutely.
I would really add to what has already been said, in addition to them being illegal, this is also going to be expensive for the taxpayers in Florida. We
Mhm.
already have lawsuits in place basically to
Mhm.
try and prevent these maps because they are illegal, because they violate the Constitution. And so now we're going to see that the taxpayers are going to have to fit the bill in order to defend an unconstitutional map. And believe it or not, they've already been gerrymandered. Our maps are already gerrymandered to the point
Mhm.
that
Yep.
the Pensacola area, House District 2, they've incorporated parts of Santa Rosa County into House District 2, which is primarily in Pensacola, because Republicans thought Pensacola is getting a little bit too blue and we need to dilute that. So they are already gerrymandering our House district maps on the state legislative level. They've gotten rid of Al Lawson's district. They got rid of Stephanie Murphy's district, who is a person of color as well. So they're
Mhm.
getting rid of black representation. They're getting rid of a people of color representation. We no longer have Val Demings in the House. We no longer have Stephanie Murphy in the House. We no longer have Al Lawson in the House. They are coming from Maxwell Frost's district.
They
Darren
are.
Soto, you probably should be on the lookout as well. But what I
Mhm.
think is that Republicans have bitten off more than they can chew. They've gerrymandered this state so much that now
Mhm.
you've got to get to the point where you're either going to be packing all the Democrats into one little district, or you're going to have to crack up districts, which means that people who are in ordinarily safe seats are now going to have to do some fighting. I think it's going to backfire on them, if personally,
Mhm.
because the state is already so gerrymandered. I don't think that
Mhm.
they're going to be able to move forward. I think this is going to backfire, and there's going to be some tremendous victories and upsets in 2026.
I'm hopeful. I gotta just add my 2 cents. I hope that that is what happens. But for me, I think they are going. It's going to be some changes there that's going to really hurt us in a way if we don't step up to the plate now and start doing something. I
Yep.
don't want us to just sit back and just talk about it. We're going to have to get up and make some movement. Otherwise, it is going to hurt us in a way that we can't just bounce back. Now, that's the way I foresee it because of the fact that when I talk to people, even with today, I was so amazed. Some people don't even know what's going on.
Mhm.
They are so out of pocket with what's happening in our world, in these United States, that they
Mhm.
are not even aware of the importance of where we are right now. And but that's just my 2 cents about how I feel. I think that we have really got to step up, stop the talk, and walk the walk in order for us to really make sure that this does work in our favor. And I do believe that right here we are going to go for a. We got a clip coming from. Do we have that clip?
We're going to go
we're
to
gonna
commercial, and then we'll come back with some clips.
with the clip. Right.
Welcome to Florida's first congressional district, Jimmy Petronis. I'm going to give you a little tour today since you don't actually live here. You know, in case you want to visit sometime. Our home has a unique culture, a rich military history, and a food and music scene that's worth the visit. When you get here, you better slow down for the 3 Mile Bridge speed trap. It's pretty easy to miss. Most tourists do, but we'll forgive you this time. You have to spare some time for our district's vibrant art scene. Well, that turned out pretty damn good. And in case you get hungry, we'll save you a plate, because we treat strangers like our own. There's so many reasons to visit our district. But what really makes this place special is its people, especially the ones who step up to represent their hometown. Jimmy, your choices have left us with some serious challenges. Cost of food, housing, insurance, just to name a few. Hell, we're bigger than some numbers on a spreadsheet. And we deserve a full-time leader, not a part-time tourist. That's why I'm running for Congress. District 1, I want to represent you because I'm one of you. It's gonna take all of us, y'all. So dust yourself off and find something orange. Jimmy, bless your heart. We hope you enjoyed your visit, but we'll take it from here. I'm Gabe Alamont, and I approve this message.
Which side are you on? Americans who believe liberty and justice are for all? Or traitors inciting violence against our country and trying to take away our freedoms? Which side are you on? People who work for a living and care for our families? Or the Trump Republicans who block everything our families need? This November, it's time to show which side you're on. Vote for Democrats. FFPAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome back, everybody. In the middle of all this, we saw a powerful moment on the Florida House floor. State Representative Angie Nixon, who is also running for the U.S. Senate, spoke out forcefully, calling attention to the illegal maps in real time. She challenged her colleagues directly on the issue of fairness and legality. Let's take a look. Love it. So absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Moments like this, they raise a bigger question. So Sunshine, I'm coming to you first. What responsibility do you think elected officials have to speak out, especially when the system itself is being pushed to its limits?
I believe that they have, if they're speaking out in the right way, should I say. I believe that with the elected officials, that I think that sometimes you have some that speak, some that want, some that step to the front. But I believe that when it comes to that, I think they do have a big responsibility because of the fact that we voted them in to work for us. And if they're going to be that voice that's going to carry what's right for us, then sure, I think they should have that opportunity to do that, but not just when it's befitting for them, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And I think that way I see that is so, I'm basing it on things that I see. Because I mean, when we elect them, we give them the power to stand there to speak for us. We give them that. That's why we hire them to be that person to speak up for us. And I'm like this, if you can't stand up and speak for what your people are looking forward to, then we got the right to fire them as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And I have to,
Yeah.
I want to say real quick that Angie Nixon has been a voice for the people for so long. It is when you're, and I've never been elected, so I have to just guess what it's
Mhm.
like to be a candidate. You have to be you have to try to say the right things so that you garner the whole audience.
Right.
But in certain times, certain circumstances, you have to stand up, grab your soapbox, and
Mm-hmm.
raise hell. And that is what Angie Nixon did, and I applaud her for it.
I agree.
So yeah,
BJ?
so Gay, Gay, do you think that this moves her actions? Will they move public opinion on the subject of gerrymandering? What do you think?
I don't know if it will move public opinion, but it makes the people feel supported in those four walls in Tallahassee where people are
Mm-hmm.
standing around and and saying the stupid right things and all that stuff. Instead, she grabbed a bullhorn and she went in there and she said, "This is from the people. Let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you
Mhm.
what the people are saying." And
Mm-hmm.
that is what we want in our elected officials.
Exactly.
Exactly. BJ,
If I
what do you
can add
think?
one more
Sure.
little point that I want to get out about our elected officials speaking out, because when she came out, when I saw that clip on the news here just the other night, I thought that was all I could say was power. She was very powerful. She did not mind what people thought because she walked in with that pink megaphone. She came in because she was standing for the people. This is what I'm seeing that's lacking. We have these positions, but we're not speaking up loudly or loud enough for the people. You can say something to me behind the scenes that's not doing any good. Are you going to be that person that's going to stand up for me in front? If it has to be with a megaphone and I walk in with my pink suit on, that I make that noise. This is what I see that's missing. That I've said that forever. We don't have that standout person that will fight for what needs to be fought for. That's just
And
my
Yeah, but
opinion.
Angie
I
needs
was thinking that she is someone who really understands that there is both a symbolic and a strategic
Mm-hmm.
mechanism that politicians and elected officials and elected leaders have to
Exactly.
operate by. And so we
Exactly.
Mhm.
saw this in the civil rights movement. There were people who said that what Martin Luther King, one of the greatest peace leaders this nation has
Oh
ever
Lord,
seen, and people
ever.
would complain about the things that he did and said that
Mm-hmm.
he was showing out and said that he was
Mm-hmm.
causing trouble. So there is
Mm-hmm.
not like there is not a book that anyone who does not want to be disrupted is going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't follow a certain set of rules that for
Agreed.
people who don't want disruption. And so there
Agreed.
for the people who disagree with what she did, you'll be all right. For the people who needed this rallying cry in order to feel like there is someone who is out there fighting for us, you have
Mm-hmm.
people like an Angie Nixon, you have people like a Michelle Rayner, you have folks
Mm-hmm.
like a Chevron Jones who are in our
Mm-hmm.
state legislature who are fighting for us every single day in different ways, certainly,
Right.
but realizing that again, there's both a strategic and a symbolic way to fight on behalf of constituents.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So
I agree.
when you speak of that, so like you said, for those who needed the rallying cry, do you think, BJ, this is actually going to that her actions and things like that when people do fight, I guess, fight on behalf of the people, do you think that actually motivates and energizes the base? Does it give
I
them a call to action?
100% think that this motivates the base because cynicism is really starting to permeate into our electorate. People are
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like hopeless, and one of the things that kills democracies is hopelessness. And so I
Absolutely.
think that there are people out there who need to be stimulated, who need to know that there are people fighting on their behalf in order to combat the cynicism. We talk about this all the time that there's three people on the ballot. There's the Republicans, there's the Democrats, and then there's the couch. And the couch has an advantage because it's already in your house and you're sitting on it. So so we need people to get people off the couch, get those people who are not motivated to ordinarily do things that they're accustomed to doing. And I feel as though she is one of the ones to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What
So
are we
what's
going to do to
happening
get
I
in
think
people
Florida,
here?
in Florida doesn't, excuse me, exist in a vacuum. At the national level, the Supreme Court came down with a 6-3 decision that gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965,
It is.
which has
Yes, it is.
long been used to challenge racial discrimination in voting.
Mm-hmm.
This has opened the door for Republicans to create even more aggressive maps and voting
Hmm.
laws across the South. So,
Absolutely. I
BJ,
agree.
tell us. I'll come to you first. Um, what becomes of the country if the guardrails come down, and what's left to protect voters?
I can't hear
Oh,
you,
we can't
BJ.
hear you, BJ.
Okay, we're not yet.
Can y'all hear me?
Got you
Yeah,
now.
we
Yes.
can
Okay.
now.
Sorry about that. So one of the things that is extremely frustrating when it comes to the Supreme Court is this is the third time in a decade that they
Uh-huh.
have gone after and chipped
Yes.
at the Voting Rights Act.
Very right.
Let me. And so with this, and every time they go after the Voting Rights Act, they always say, oh, but it's not that bad because you still have this section. You still have Section 2. You still have Section 5. That the Voting Rights Act has not been completely dismantled by what we've done with this Supreme Court decision. And then Clarence Thomas goes and writes a decision on exactly how to dismantle the things that they just said were not dismantled. So Section
Mm-hmm.
2 was one of those things. John
Mm-hmm.
Roberts was like, "Oh, don't worry," and Shelby v. Holder, "Don't worry, you still have Section 2." And then Clarence Thomas was like, "This is how you go after Section 2, future litigant." Wink, wink. And then here we have the dismantling of Section 2. One of the things that is also that I wanted to emphasize is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, God bless her soul, said that when in Shelby v. Holder, when the first portions of this of the Voting Rights Act were dismantled, what she said was it's like, and I don't have the direct quote, but I'm paraphrasing. She basically said, what we've done is we've put away the umbrella in the middle of a rainstorm simply because we're not wet. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would venture to say the same thing. What we've done is like we've taken the smoke detector out of our kids' rooms simply because we've never had a house fire. And
Mm-hmm.
this is ridiculous what we've done. So I think that the courts are no longer a neutral player in our current democracy as we have it. And it's going to be time to, in my view, expand the courts and impeach justices.
I was
Agreed.
going to say that if elected, somebody asked me the other day, if you're elected, will you vote to expand the court? And I will absolutely vote to expand the court by 3 seats. This has turned into a disaster. Derek, tell me your thoughts.
I'm just I'm heartbroken is probably the best way that I could use to describe my feelings around this. When we look at it, we see that this is going to impact everybody, and it's had nationwide effects. I mean, no less than 48 hours after the decision, you saw Tennessee, you saw Alabama, you saw Mississippi.
Yep.
All of the southern states have called for a special session to look at
Mm-hmm.
redistricting. We were just on a call with the Democratic National Committee before this, and we heard for even in Louisiana, their elections for members of the Louisiana House of Representatives have been suspended, yet for some reason they can still vote for the Louisiana senators. This is absolutely maddening at this point in time. But when we talk about it, I think we have to. This is going to be a true test of our. It's going to be a true test of our resiliency, but we also have a call to action here. We can't just sit around and allow things to happen to us. We have to
Mm-hmm.
get out and get out to vote, and it's going to be important. Right now there are three, love you, Gabe, but there are three of us who are sitting over here who are people of color, Black folks, who are going to be desperately impacted by the
Mm-hmm.
ruling that just came down by the Supreme Court. But I don't want anybody who is white, who's sitting on it, who is listening to us, to think that, oh, this doesn't impact me. This
Oh, yes, it will.
impacts every single person that
Yes, it
lives
will.
in these continental states that are supposed to be united. This is going to
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
impact everybody. So everybody has to get on the same page. It's enough. I'll be the first one to tell you I don't like all Democrats, and some of y'all know that. I don't like everybody. that I work with. But at this point in time, we got to come together because we have a mission to
Yes.
accomplish. And that means we've got to send people like Gay, like the folks who are running as Democrats in the state of Florida and across this nation, to the House of Representatives, to the Senate, to actually go and represent us so that we can not only expand the Supreme Court, but block any future nominees that may come with Justice was Alito and Justice Thomas, who are looking to retire. Make sure that those nominations get blocked, because we don't understand. People don't seem to understand how the decision not to vote impacts their daily lives. Like I've said time and time again, I've said it like for the past 3 years, and now it's coming to fruition. I keep
Mm,
saying that if we don't get out and vote, we are one or two election cycles away from being back in enslavement. That is what I've
mhm.
said, and they are moving us closer and closer to that point. We are almost there, and we need to get out to the point. And I'm going to speak to folks where, and I just want to say this, and I'm going to be done on this topic,
Oh,
from my part anyway. With the folks, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to speak to my black folks here. Every one of you should be at the ballot box on August
Yes.
18th for the primary election and on
Mhm.
Tuesday, November 3rd for the general election. If you do not, you are just as bad as the people who are doing this to us. So it is up to you sure that we do what we need to do to make sure we turn this thing around. We need every single person doing what they need to do, and that's getting out to vote, because there's still an opportunity. We can't roll over and just die. We actually have to fight, and now is that time to do so.
Absolutely. Without a question.
Yeah, Sunshine, I want to ask you. I hear every day, I hear people tell me every day, young people tell me every day that their vote doesn't matter, their vote doesn't count.
Mhm.
What does this ruling mean to you personally?
Personally, to me, I want to go back to even when Reagan was elected years ago. If you think back then, it was targeted then. I want you to go back way back then. It was the Voting Rights Act was targeted right back then, and I want to
Mhm.
bring this to the top of mind. If there's something that they are constantly going for, there's something that can happen with that's going to hurt them. If we think about this now, because coming up now, when you were talking about the primaries, I want to make sure, and I try my best now to even gear things that I'm doing to reach to the younger generation, because of those who say, well, I'm not going to vote because it's not going to matter. That to let them know, because when you don't vote, you've already voted. Hear
mhm.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When you
Mhm.
For
do
the other
not, you have voted for the other side already. So we've got to come up with strategies to make this happen. I'll say this because when a person attacks, and we've got to call what my mother used to say, rest her soul, call a spade a spade. What's happening now? And in these United States, the bottom line of it with this administration is racism. Racism is at the top of the line. We've got to be real about that. Um, it is there. Everything that's touched now is based on racism, with the hate, with everything, the name calling, the dirt picking, everything that's targeted at us. But what we've got to be that stronger person, I think, to spread that message, just as with a megaphone, if I have to have one, to go out to make that message there, to fight and not say I'm going to fight behind the walls. I need to see you in the street. I need to see you in the street talking to these young people who are out there walking around who saying that my vote does not matter. I was listening to, and I'm going to cut this short in just a second, BJ. I was listening to the mayor in Alabama this weekend, because that's my hometown. And when the governor Gay called a meeting for today, he got on social media last night and he said, I quote, he said, the way they're coming after us, are we ready and willing to fight the way they fought back then?
Oh,
Are we ready to fight like Dr. King? Are we ready to fight John Lewis? Are we ready to fight Medgar Evers? Are we ready to fight? This is what it's going to take. We cannot sit around and talk about it anymore, because the more we talk, look at the closer that they're doing. The more we talk without any actions, look what they're yet making steps to do. We know that coming up in this general election this year, all those seats are going to be open, and they are doing their best to fill them that way. So my thing today, what bothers me the most, I hear so much talk, but I don't see any action. I want to see action. I want to see a movement where not only gays out there, but I want to see everybody else, and even with these seats that are already filled. Let me see you out there working, talking to these young people and some of the older ones, because there's some older ones, mature people I've spoken with don't even know what the Supreme Court has done. It's up to us. And if we sit back, relax, suck our thumbs, guess what's going to happen? They're going to win with what they're trying to do. That's just how I feel.
Well, it's funny that you brought this up. That's why I want to share this picture, because this is a black and white picture. I'm the youngest on this panel, but this is only 15 years before I was born. And this is a reverend in Louisiana, where I'm from, who, after he registered to vote, literally had to stand guard on his front porch to protect his family with a shotgun. Because Klan rallies went out after that Voting Rights Act was passed. So this Voting Rights Act, that people died for this act. I would argue that the Voting Rights Act is more important than the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. I would argue, because the Voting Rights Act is what basically took us out of an American apartheid system. We had a system of apartheid in this country where there were large subsets of Americans who did not have access to the freedoms that white Americans had. And so I would venture to say that it was this particular piece of legislation that got us out of apartheid. And we know it was important, because otherwise this man wouldn't have had to be on his porch protecting his family with a shotgun. Do we have people ready to get on their porches with shotguns, metaphorically? I'm not saying I don't advocate for violence, but I'm not above it. So I'm saying, who are the people that are going to step up and be the person on the porch protecting this country? Because as many people say, we built this country and we did it for free. So I'm not going to just hand it over to anybody.
We'll do that.
And I guess with that, we'll go to break.
Amen.
All right, we'll go to break and we'll see you on the other side of the break. Okay, guys?
Is your town suffering from a lack of progress? Are projects and social services all backed up? It's time to try revenue. With annual doses of revenue, communities can thrive in no time. Side effects may include a profound sense of justice, decreased corporate money hoarding, billionaire sad face, and jobs. Ask your state representatives if revenue is right for your community, because it is, and corporations need to pay what they owe.
Yes, I'm a believer, always have been. And I tell my granddaughters, take care of yourselves. You never know. But it takes all sorts to make a world. And it's not my place to tell a woman if she can have an abortion or not. That is a decision between her doctor, and God. And that is why I am voting for Democrats.
FFPAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
Now to a developing story in Washington, D.C., which is already pretty much out of the news cycle. You know, so many things happen with this presidency, this administration, that events that would normally be in a news cycle for a month go out within a few days. So in a shocking incident, but not so shocking to me, I may add, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, has raised some concerns about relaxed security protocols, whether it was giving staged vibes, and the lack of readiness of the regime's FBI, CIA, and NSA agents. Events like this are meant to bring people together, journalists, public officials, and institutions. But when something like this happens, it forces a deeper conversation. So, Gay, I'm going to come to you first. I saw your post in response to the White House Correspondents' Dinner scare, and I just would like to give you the opportunity to talk more about that and give me your thoughts, particularly as it surrounds gun violence and the gun violence prevention conversation that seemed to be ignored in all of this.
Well, that's what's happened. I don't understand how the Charlie Kirk assassination, the several attempts on the president of the United States, whether you like him or not, and this has not sparked a conversation about how we prevent people with guns from committing these heinous acts. It is shocking to me that the president of the United States, y'all just imagine if this had happened to Obama, if this had happened to Biden, the conversations would be completely different. But because Republicans want to fight so much against gun violence prevention and gun ownership, legal gun ownership, that they are willing to not have the conversation about people that should not own firearms and how we prevent people that should not own firearms from having them. It's amazing to me that the position that Donald Trump is in, and as many shots or as many times that somebody has gotten close enough to him, and that the administration's not even talking about gun violence prevention. We have 500 million illegal guns on the streets in these United States, and we are doing squat about it. We are doing nothing.
And Derek, I know you had shared with us in our group chat prior to us when we were talking about what we were going to discuss. And I wanted your thoughts on a video that you shared with us. I'll play the video first, and then we'll get your comments on the other side, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they released HD surveillance footage from the shooter at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I have questions. Here it is, and we're going to focus on this area up here where you're going to see him walk into that doorway. So here we go. He walks in, nonchalant. You're going to see a canine officer come in, and the dog follows him into that room. And then you'll see him pull back the dog, and then it looks like they have a conversation. Looks like he's talking to him there. And he's finally going to turn away, and literally seconds later, he comes out armed with the shotgun. A couple things noteworthy. First, what's in his hands? I see nothing. I certainly don't see a long shotgun in his hands as he walks in there. Doesn't look like his jacket is big enough to hide it if it's in pieces. And then he had time to assemble it while this guy's literally staring through the doorway? Because I didn't see anything in his hands. This guy's just kind of chilling there. And then it's the moment he turns, he comes out with it fully assembled. And look at the size of this thing. Was that on him? Or had he stashed that there prior? And if so, how was that missed? How did no one find a firearm stashed in a room right next to security? Moving on, he will exit. He'll come sprinting through here, and you're going to see this guy fire multiple shots. There you go. There was at least 3 there. As everybody just kind of scatters and seems confused. And it's worth noting, this guy walked into a room right there, seemed to be being watched almost the whole time he was in that room, and yet somehow got his hands on a shotgun, then sprinted through here, and all of these guys missed him.
Baby, I wouldn't want them protecting me. None of them were paying attention
except for this one officer, who then proceeds to miss him at close range. At one point, this guy's basically standing in front of him. I understand he's running, but he missed him with every shot. And also, never see his firearm go off. I don't see him shooting at him. He points toward him. But, I mean, a shotgun, even if there isn't a muzzle flash, it puts out a lot of energy when it's fired, and I don't see a shot go off. And last but certainly not least, that was not the first footage we got, remember? We initially got this super low-res garbage footage of that incident happening. Then we got a higher res version in between this version we have now that was clearly AI slop. We knew it was AI slop because, like, that paper disappears into his chest, that paper seeming to be the metal detector, but also nothing in his hands. He's not armed in the original one we got. He's armed in the new one. And you can see this is clearly the same footage by matching what the people are doing. Also in that version, this agent is looking in a different direction. And
okay, I think we get the point. Go ahead, Derek. Give me your thoughts.
So, like Mr. Tizzy, I got questions too. Well, I don't think I have questions. I have answers. But I don't want to get us flagged, so I'm just going to say I got questions, right? And all of his questions happen to coincide with my questions. But here, I think what is important, then let's say we forego all of this. Let's put this into context, into the political context of what happened. Just the day before, a federal judge blocked and halted construction on the White House ballroom, and he said the issuance from the judge was that you cannot continue construction on this White House ballroom unless you can prove that there is a legitimate safety rationale and concern that you have that would justify the construction of this ballroom. And then the very next day, somebody tried to shoot the man in the White House. So I'm
Didn't
just
talk about that
saying,
and talked about that ballroom.
right, right. And I'm just saying, like, it just
But
seems highly coincidental that at the same time a judge says you can't build a ballroom unless you prove that there's a safety reason that you need it, and the very next day somebody try to shoot you. Like, and to the point. Now, I'm not a good shot, but I feel like if you were standing right in front of me, I could shoot you. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But for the people, but what I will say is that I would expect the people who are trained to shoot to be able to successfully shoot somebody right in front of me. If I can't, certainly the person who takes the arms test, they have to go to the gun range and pass a firearms a certification. They have to prove that they can shoot groupings, when the target comes to you and then you see the holes in the circle in the man's chest, they're all in a circle. So what that says to me, that when your groupings come back, you don't see nothing on the paper. It's just a white piece of paper with a black outline, not near a hole in sight. So I'm just saying, all of these things beg the question, what had happened?
And I think that's important that you bring that up because it was a very coordinated communications outflow of information.
Mm-hmm.
They all got on message, which means that a memo went out, and that memo went out to politicians within the Republican Party. That memo went out to conservative content creators. That memo went out to people like Laura Loomer and even Meghan McCain and her crazy ass. And it went out to everybody because they were all on the same talking point about we need to build a ballroom in response to this. A ballroom which would not house the White House Correspondents' Dinner anyway, even if it had existed. Because the ballroom, it ain't your ballroom. It's the people's ballroom.
Right.
Anyway, I don't want to get
And the
upset.
people who do the White House Correspondents' Dinner don't work for the White House, so they would never house the White House Correspondents' Dinner in the White House anyway. That it just begs to question how all of this stuff comes about, and here we are yet again in it oftentimes seems like when there's a need for a distraction, i.e. Epstein files, i.e. the war in Iran, suddenly there's an assassination attempt, always conveniently when there's a dip in the approval ratings of the man in the White House. Suddenly somebody comes to shoot the man, tries to shoot the man. They don't never get their target. They always miss, but there's always an attempt. What? This is his third assassination attempt. Like the third in his tenure. Most people, and I'll take something from Mark Lamont Hill. He said something, and when people dislike the presidency, the president, the man that's in office, what do they usually do? They vote. They vote him out. These people have come to shoot you 3 times in the sense. And more importantly, the other point that I want to raise in this is in this White House Correspondents' Dinner, the president was there, the vice president, the Senate president, and the Speaker of the House. I thought there was a governmental rule that all of the people in succession can't be at the same place at the same time, right? Because let's just say somebody wanted to blow you up. Everybody in the same room is all blown up together, right? So when did that become the case? And to see the people just react in the shooting, they didn't see two-phase. And what was that one man? That one man still continued his food while while the people were shooting. He was like, "I'm just gonna eat my food," and I was kind of like,
Except for the reporters that were there, the people that were actually journalists who were,
Right.
hiding under their tables because Donald Trump has already said over and over again how they are the enemy of the people. You know, and Donald Trump was not supposed to show up to the correspondence dinner until like 3 days before the White House or the correspondence dinner. So, yeah, it's what it is.
But
What
this
were
is
your
gives us
thoughts on the Sunshine when you watched the video? What did you think?
the first thing I did. Derek, check your phone. What did I say?
Yeah, you're
Before it was over, I said, check your phone. No, I say
hmm
that because I look at this and I don't like to see anybody lose their life. Understand me? I'm not that type of person. I don't like
hmm
that. But I want to go back to this. When a person is really out to do something, then I'm going to come back and I know we're at the end. When President Kennedy took one shot, his brother, Robert Kennedy, right after him, one shot. They shot after Reagan, didn't get him. Then there was Martin Luther King. How many shots? One. I'm going to stop right there. Everyone scraped the ear. The other one, when he scraped the ear, he wore the big white thing on the ear to draw attention. People walk around with this big old thing on the ear. Then the man down near his home, near the golf course, didn't get him. I'm saying it looks suspicious to me. Anything, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Because when you can take my mind and take me on another route to take the focus off what we should be focusing on, and then here's a week later, now we find out this with his Senate, I mean, with the Supreme Justice, that look what has happened. All of these things, I think they're done strategically to get the focus off everything that is important. Then they'll go pull another string to let us know they haven't stopped yet. I say that to say, my mother always said, when you see somebody around you, mimic that person, but make it better. If you see somebody doing something like that, you mimic them, but take theirs and make it even better than what they're doing. What I'm saying is we've got to become more consistent. We've got to become more visual. We've got to become more hands-on. We've got to become more strategic in our planning and not just talking to stop this, because where they are now, here we are a couple of months from the primaries. And what was the percentage last year? We had 20% right here for the primaries that turned out. I'm talking to you. Then now they see what they're doing. If that's not going to motivate you to get out and get the younger people, everybody else, grab them, let's go vote. Then coming up for the general, what do you think they're going to do? It is time for us not to just sit back, relax, and say, oh, well, I'm a gunner. Got no further than your lips. We need to make sure that we're motivating these people who are leading us. We've got to get behind these people that we voted in to get them on their job. Because what this is affecting already, I read in the paper, how many people was taken off SNAP just this past week? Over 300. Yeah. That was taken off SNAP. This is here in Florida. Even with myself, but I'm pretty good at taking care of myself. When I go to the grocery store, I don't want to spend too much. I come out with 2 bags, I spent $100. Easily. So what my point is this, with all this that we see that's happening, whether it be for real or if it's staged, what we've got to do as a community, we must forget who I don't like your personality. Forget that, let it roll off your back, because that way we're doing exactly what they said we're going to do. We cannot work together to get it done because I don't like what Tom, Dick, or Harris, Sue, Sally, or Jane is doing. So what we as a people must do, you don't have to go home with that person and sleep with them at night. What you need to do is come before them. If they can pull a string over here, so let's get all these strings pulled together so it's going to benefit the entire group. Democracy, Democrats, Black people, people of color, even white people that's going to be affected. We have got to come together. Now is the time that we must stop talking and get to walking.
And I guess just to close out this segment, I just want to remind everybody who's watching at home that the Constitution only mentions one profession, and that is the press. No other profession is mentioned in the Constitution as a level that is given protection except the press. And we have to be honest, the media is failing us. It's one of the reasons why we developed this platform is because even candidates here that are running who just so happen to be Democrat can't get access to the media because of the conservative nature of the media outlets in our area. So the press is really failing us. This is a man who says that the press is the enemy of the people. This is a man who said that you know what I would have done if I were there? I would have said, all the media organizations that he has kicked out, like the Associated Press and PBS, I would have said, you know what, it's important to cover White House events, but we're going to send the Associated Press and PBS to cover it. They actually do good work, so they'll cover it, and then we'll just, take from whatever they get. But you know what? They all went in there because they all want access. They all want to say that they were there at the White House Correspondents' Dinner with that orange asshole. And now look what happened. They were under there crouching under tables, dealing with his crazy ass. And so I think we all need to just gather ourselves, myself included. I got to gather myself and say, we're going to keep marching. We're going to keep moving forward. Like Ms. Sunshine said, we are the ones who can change this outcome. We need to get Gay elected. We need to get Yen Bailey elected. We need to get every single Democrat on that is running for Congress, even in deep red districts. We need to get them elected because that is what it's going to take to get us out of here.
Most certainly.
Because Derek already said it. We are two generations away from being cuffed again.
Right back.
Yeah. We need every person of color to come out and have your opinion heard. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but when somebody tells me I can't do something,
that's what I'm going to do it.
And that's what it's going to take.
Exactly. Agreed. I mean, this show has been one show today. I think we've got a lot of inner feelings that came out that were somewhat on the inside with all that's happened this past week. And it was well worth it. But we want to remind everybody, please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go in and look. There's a link also. If you go there, you'll find out you can even donate to the cause. And you see, because the more we get, the more we can do. And as you see, as we give it to you raw, we give it to you the way that you want it to be done, not going to cover it up. We're not going to be that media that has to be held back. We're the media that's going to tell it like it is. If it's in black and white, you're going to get black and white. And that's what we do. BJ?
All right, well, we're going to close it out. Remember, like, subscribe, follow, share. And we're going to see you next week. Guess what? Little teaser. We got a rebel rouser that's going to be on the show next week.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And after that one, I've confirmed that other one we got too. Yeah.
All right. In the comments, tell us who you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe a special prize for the one who gets it right. All right, guys. We'll sign off. Bye.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.